Okay guys, I'm back. I know it's been a while and I've been meaning to get back to you guys, but I'm back just with a couple of tips here for you. I've got a layout update I'm working on, and I'll get that up to you hopefully either tomorrow, which will be a Friday, or next Friday. But right here with me I have two ES44AC locomotives by Intermountain, Canadian Pacific and Union Pacific, and I got these not for the colors, obviously, because I don't model either one of these roads, but I bought them because they're going back to the factory. They've had a truck replacement on them, right there. That's off the Union Pacific, which I have done already. The little clip right there, you can see that crack, isn't supposed to be there, and it allows that truck to almost fall out or fall from under the engine. So it's got to be replaced on both these locomotives. It was the back truck on the Union Pacific and the front one, I believe, on the Canadian Pacific. So I'm working on those. I got them just for that reason. They were going to go back to Intermountain and be replaced. So I got them on a good deal to bring them home and do it myself. And Intermountain sends you new parts for free. So I've done the Union Pacific on my own just to learn, and I thought I'd show you guys how to do the Canadian Pacific. I know a lot of these locomotives are very popular, and I know a lot of them have issues like that. But one thing I want to show you while this Canadian Pacific's on the scales is that I weigh all my locomotives. That one comes out to 18.40 ounces. That just gives me an idea of its weight to its pulling power, what it should have, and if it doesn't, maybe it needs a little bit more weight in certain spots, or bullfrog's not on the tires, which I am going to try and purchase in the next few months to test it out, because I've found on these locomotives they don't have a lot of pulling power for the size of the locomotive. So we're going to go ahead and get started with this Canadian Pacific here. Okay guys, first thing you're going to want to do, you've got to take the handrails off from the step here. You've got to loosen them off, pull them off the body. And the same thing on this side. And you'll notice I am leaving the foam in just to protect the handrails while they're off the engine. The next thing you want to do... Okay, sorry about that, my phone was ringing. But the next thing you want to do, the handrails on the front of the locomotive should come right out. And you can either take them off altogether, or what I sometimes do, I leave them in one of the holes if I can. So like that. Right there, you can just leave those attached to the front of the locomotive. And I took them off from the shell down front. Now what you're going to have to do is wedge the shell of the locomotive off from the walkways, because they're on two separate things, they're not attached. So it's not one big shell like most locomotives, it's just her hoods. Make sure your handrails on both sides stay clear. Okay, and your foam blocks will come out. Okay, and this locomotive, if you can see here, the speaker's mounted up inside. So there's two wires attached to it all the time, so you can't go far with the shell unless you take off that little connector right there, then it'll come off. And I'm positive, when I bought this locomotive, he said it was the front that needed the work. But I'm not so sure right now because they both look okay. Okay guys, I got looking, and it's not the clips that are broke on this engine. It's the wire under that truck there. You can see right there. It's not attached, so the one side isn't picking up. So it's not what I had planned to show you, but it's going to be just as interesting. to replace it. So what you want to do, you want to try and remove the clip on the top of the locomotive, which would be that little piece right there. And what should happen is your worm gear and everything on the inside, and your shaft should come out, and your worm gear and everything. Put that on the side. Now what you want to do is, or what I'm going to do is line this back up, set it back down. Now what you need to do the little wire tie that holds everything together. Cut that off. You'll be able to separate all these wires. Those two go to the front. Those are from your truck pickup. And those two come from the back. So the next thing you want to do is that little clip right there. You work it back and forth, or side to side, and it should come out. Okay, right there. So that wire just needs to be soldered back. Where are you here? There's a little tiny clip right there. Just needs to be soldered back onto there. Now what I could do is simply solder that and put that back on. But what I'm going to do, since I don't trust that truck anymore, is I'm going to put this brand new truck on. Only problem I have with these engines, not just this one, is those wires, a red and a yellow. Those are great. I understand that Intermountain needs wires to pick up from the trucks, but why couldn't you paint from there down black? Because you can see those underneath the engine, and personally it bugs me. You can see it on the front one here. You can see right there, you can see the wire. You can see the yellow one too. And I don't like the fact that you can see them. So what I'm going to do, the only problem with this is, okay, not on this one. On the Union Pacific, they sent me a front truck. And that's great and dandy, other than those wires were reversed. So when you went to put it on, it would reverse the polarity in the engine and short your track out all the time. So what I had to do was cut those wires and swap them around on the connector, which is no big deal. But what I'm going to show you right now is a tip to get rid of the red and yellow wires. All you need is a little bit of paint. Now this is a gray paint, but it should camouflage underneath. So what we're going to do is we're going to try it up here. Okay, that's going to look okay. By the time you get your weathering everything, what you're going to do, you can do this on the engine, and I'll show you that on the front truck, but it's easier if you do it when the engine doesn't have its trucks on. So that's all you need. Just a little bit above that connector, because that's all you're going to see. And you just put that on, and it'll camouflage those two wires. Now, another thing you need to do, which I don't have right now, is you need to grease or oil your gears. And these new trucks coming from the factory don't have oil and gear grease. No, I can't talk today. So I've got to wait for that. I've got that on order, but I don't have that right now. So that's causing a little bit of delay, I guess you could say, in the work getting done, because without that the engine wants to click a lot, and normally that would be fine, but like I said, I didn't buy these engines for myself. Now the way it turns out, I'll be keeping the one for myself, which will be this one, but the other one won't. I've already got it sold, so it needs to be done properly. And as you can guess, this engine isn't staying in red colors. And what I just had to do there, the little crossbar in between was broke out in shipping. I just had to glue that back on. So no big deal. So that truck, we'll go over here with the Union Pacific one, paint them up and take the wires off and use them as a load, which is nice. Now what you can do is, if you have grease or something, you can put that in underneath your worm gear, pack it all in there, put a little bit of oil in the gears that are showing. I don't have that since none of mine are in right now. So what you're going to do, you thread your wire back up through, and you can drop your truck back underneath your engine. Now here's the tricky part if your shaft happens to come out. You've got to thread that back through the wires and into your flywheel. And everybody should know what I'm talking about when I say that. But for those who don't, every engine these days has at least one brass flywheel. Now, I've never seen one with a flywheel that allows the shaft to come out, because that can slide in there. It's got a hexagon shaped hole in it, and the shaft has a hexagon shaped head, and they go in and line up, and that's how it drives. And I've never seen a locomotive like that until today with these ones, but it's obviously not uncommon. All you have to do is push that back down, and with the oil that I'm getting, I can put it in that hole, and it will run down and lube all of the parts and gears and everything. Now that's done. You can look under there, you can't see those wires, which is nice. You can still see the front wires. So all you have to do is take your paintbrush, lay your engine on its side, or you can hold it whatever you prefer. I'll stand mine up so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Okay. There you can see the red wire underneath. All I'm going to do is take my paintbrush with a little bit of paint, go in and coat the whole thing. You can reach in from the top to make sure you go in all the way and get it. And there you go. That wire is virtually gone. All you have to do is take your locomotive, spin it around, put it on the other side. There you can see the yellow wire. Same thing, just reach in, just drag your paintbrush up. Again, you can go in from the inside, paint up, and there you go. Disappeared. Now you can use a black, since it is a black underframe, but it doesn't matter because you can't see it anyways with the light. So that's how you can simply get rid of the colored wires on your locomotive even if you don't take it apart. Now, for putting this engine back together, I gotta change a few things. And I'm gonna show you this here just because I have nothing else. What I need to do, I need to cut the light and the number boards out, and I need to move them above the cab. Now I've got my light ordered, and I'm just going to look, so you're not going to see this engine go back together for a while. Actually no, I'll show you how to put it together, but you'll see it again in a few more videos of the engine coming back apart. Now what you need to do, you still need to hook your back end in. So you go, find the plug, and if you paid attention to which way it came out, it should go back in, but not necessarily. So what you can always do, you can look inside of the plug to see which way, if the prongs are closer to the top or to the bottom. Okay, one thing I want to show you guys, just on this locomotive, since some of you won't ever take your locomotive apart, I want to show you where the wires, or where the light comes from. Okay, you can see where that glow's coming from on the locomotive. Now what that is, and I'll show you on both ends, those two little boxes right there, there's a yellow light down inside of them, and that's your LED. And that's where all the light comes from on your functions. You can see it right there. There's two slots. One's the front light or the headlight, and the other one is the number boards. There's two tiny little LEDs down there, and that's where your light comes from. So now that everything's clipped on, you can either find a small wire tie and tie all of your wires back together. Okay, I don't have any here, but I'm not concerned. One thing you have to remember, since you had your locomotive apart, or I did, you've got your sound plug to put back on. All you have to make sure when you drop this back over is all your wires are back inside. So you can finagle those around, and yes, I used that word. Pop your shell back down, and you've got the shell lines itself up. Again, it is a locomotive, so it is fragile, but I find putting these back on, you've got to be fragile yet aggressive to line it back up properly. One thing you've got to watch on this box here, there is a peg on the bottom of it. So that has to line up with a corresponding hole, which isn't always easy to do. There. Heard that snap in, that side's down. There, your shell is back on. What you can do now is put your handrails back on. Okay, that side's on. Do the same on this side. And what's nice about these, Intermountain didn't glue their handrails on. Because I've had locomotives before you buy them, and their handrails are glued on or they don't come out nice. And you end up breaking them. So, there the locomotive's back together. Now we'll test it. Okay, what we're going to do, we're going to mute the sound, you can hear it. Okay, you can hear that grinding. That is the locomotive gear without any oil on it. So it is best to put oil on it, but you can run them a short distance without any oil. So guys, that's how you do a locomotive repair, putting a new truck in, regardless of if the clamp is cracked or the wire is shorted off. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoy this segment, and if any of you have any problems with engines like this, let me know. I can give you a hand through Facebook and give you a little bit of help. Hope this has been helpful to you, and I'm going to try and get you a layout update as soon as I can. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good week.